With a surreal title and plot, you know right from the start that you're in for something a little different with Astro Aqua Kitty, the latest release from Tiki-Pod in the Aqua Kitty series. The series made its debut on the PS Vita as part of the PlayStation Mobile range as a retro-style Defender clone, but what does this new chapter have in store for gamers? In the original Aqua Kitty, all of the cats of the world were in uproar as the world's milk supply had run out, so they bravely took to the oceans to mine for it in their high-tech submarines. But as you can guess, they weren't alone, and were under constant attack in their quest for their favourite drink. Bringing things back to the present, and the Vita version of Astro Aqua Kitty just made it to release before Sony closed their submissions for new games. But this is their first to be released across a wide range of platforms simultaneously: Vita, PS4, Switch, Steam and Xbox One. So I decided to check out the Vita, Switch and Steam ports. This is a departure from the Defender-inspired arcade shooter of the previous versions. Last seen in Aqua Kitty UDX on the Switch, this takes the saga into space, as the title suggests. The heroic felines have moved their operations from Earth, and instead of searching for milk are now mining asteroids in space. Laced with valuable jewels, it seemed to be a simple enough plan. But these cavernous asteroids were flooded with water and all manner of hazards and creatures out to stop our hapless felines. It's up to you and your brave crew to take a heavily armed space submarine to the asteroids, protect the scientists and miners, and maybe collect a few jewels along the way. So how has the gameplay changed? Right from the start, Astro Aqua Kitty has evolved into a hybrid of arcade shooter, adding in RPG style character progression, with a more strategic element being added in as well. Your craft now has a two-person, or two-kitty, crew behind it, and the game opens up with your crew selection screen. Each has their own specialist skills and abilities that all affect how your craft performs during the rest of the game, so you need to choose wisely from the start. From there you move on to the game proper and set off onto the first asteroid. As you explore, you encounter various scientists around the space rocks. They'll instruct you on gameplay mechanics and, most importantly, ask you for help with different tasks. These tasks will send you off exploring the asteroid, defeating more enemies, hunting for lost items and performing all manner of heroic duties. Not everything is essential to complete each asteroid, but they all help. But Astro Aqua Kitty is different. As you defeat creatures, some will randomly drop gems. These can be used in the shops that you find around the asteroids to buy new weapons or upgrade your craft's abilities. Other gems can be picked up from mining when you destroy rocks scattered around the scenery. Additional weapons can be found in destructible cargo containers or dropped randomly. However, it's not just a case of buying a weapon and using it. You have a limited number of slots to add a primary and secondary weapon, and 4 enhancement slots to your craft. Each weapon or add-on also has a level rating. You need to reach a set ability level to be able to add them, hence the RPG element. Experience is gained as you destroy creatures, and when you earn enough, you increase the level. This also allows your characters to use new skills as well, so there's a lot more hidden depth than just fly and shoot. The last Aqua Kitty games were incredibly addictive, taking all the best qualities from Defender, but adding enough of a modern twist to keep them fresh. The new strategic elements that have been introduced to Astro Aqua Kitty lift it head and shoulders above your average shooter, and you've really got to think more about how you use your resources. It's no longer a case of go exploring guns blazing. That might work for typical bullet hell shooters, even though there's plenty of that here, but now you've got to manage your weapons, ship's energy systems and a myriad of upgrades to get the most out of your craft. Fortunately, everything can be swapped in and out as you need to, and it's a good job too, as some weapons will be better suited than others for different sections of the huge levels. The same approach applies for dealing with the bosses at the end of each asteroid. Some need an all-out assault with everything you've got, whereas others need to be dealt with using a more targeted approach, where something like homing missiles would be your best bet. Fortunately, with save points scattered around the asteroids, and just before each boss, you don't have to worry about a few deaths here and there as you progress. Despite the new approach, the action is just as frantic and will get your blood pumping as you try to keep your feline heroes alive against the odds, keeping it just as addictive as Aqua Kitty DX. But this time with multiple challenges and side missions spread throughout each level that can be tackled in any order you wish, the game just feels much more satisfying. Instead of endlessly playing from one end of a level to another as you would in a traditional arcade shooter, each mission feels like a win in its own right. With some of these being optional and the others being able to be tackled in a non-linear manner, it makes you feel as if you're in total control of the game. It all adds up to creating an engaging gaming experience that you'll find almost impossible to put down. For games of this nature, the big concern is its long-term appeal. That's not really a problem with Astro Aqua Kitty though. Even if you complete the game after exploring the 8 vast levels and taking out all the bosses, with the random distribution of weapon pickups and item availability in the store, it ensures that no 2 runs of the game ever play the same. So in essence, it doesn't matter whether you've memorised the layout of all the levels or mastered ways to avoid the attack patterns of everything you face. Having access to the different weapon loadouts each time will keep the game fresh every time you start anew. A point in fact here is that I've currently got 3 save games on the go right now, and the weapons I've been offered in the shops have been totally different on each platform, making the game feel different on each system, so I've enjoyed each as if it were a separate game. Just as with previous entries in the series, Astro Aqua Kitty looks and sounds fantastic. The 16-bit retro styling has continued from the earlier games, and the pixel art visuals from Doug and Jackson are just as striking as ever. And as before, the graphics are backed up by another fantastic chip soundtrack by Electric Cafe. I'm a huge fan of game soundtracks in general, especially from the 8-bit and 16-bit era, and as with their previous releases, Electric Cafe have made this soundtrack available from Bandcamp, and as with the game itself, it's worth every penny. One thing I do want to make a special note of is just how good the Vita version looks compared with the others. While the video footage here is from the Steam port, during play I found very little to distinguish between the ones I played. Apart from slightly less detail in the graphics, there's nothing there to tell them apart. One of my only real criticisms about Aqua Kitty DX on the Vita was the occasional slowdown I experienced. Even though the game deserved its spot in our list of the Vita's top 10 arcade shooters on the Vita Player website, there were times when the game stuttered when it was busy on screen. Fortunately, this sequel has no such problems in that department. It's silky smooth throughout, no matter what's on screen or how many creatures are around trying to blow you to kitty heaven. In fact, putting all 3 versions I played side by side, and they all looked and performed superbly. If that wasn't enough, TikiPod weren't satisfied in delivering a great shooter, and shortly afterwards released a patch adding a whole new game mode. The arcade mode adds a completely new game to Astro Aqua Kitty, what is essentially a side-scrolling shooter reminiscent of the old school shoot-em-ups of the 80s like R-Type. It's fiendishly difficult, but this free update adds an incredible amount of extra depth and content to what's already an unmissable purchase. Just talking about the PS Vita version for a moment again, and if this truly is the last PS Vita game from TikiPod, then they're bowing out in style. But regardless of the system you play it on, it's an absolutely stunning game and a fitting way to close the series. The story elements blend in perfectly and don't detract at all from the arcade action, and each of the levels is packed with plenty of diversity in their missions to keep you engaged throughout. It's incredibly addictive, plays like a dream, and is easily one of the best shooters I've played on the Vita. And for those of you who buy the PS4 version, TikiPod have now added cross-buy support, so if you opt for that one, you get the Vita port free. But regardless of the platform, this is one shoot-em-up you just don't want to miss.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the like button and leave us a comment below. Also, spare a moment to share this video on Twitter, Facebook, and all your social media pages. To get updates on all of our latest videos delivered straight to your inbox, subscribe now using the link on the screen.